Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. Set in 1903, Chain of Gold is book 1 in the Last Hours series by Cassandra Clare in the Shadowhunter universe. Cordelia Carstairs arrives in London with a mission to save her family from ruin after a crime her father has committed. She reunites with childhood friends James and Lucy Herondale, and they help her navigate London society. After a series of random demon attacks in broad daylight, the Shadowhunters hold London under quarantine to figure out how best to deal with this new menace and uncover who is behind it. Yes, you guys, a new Shadowhunter book going back to the early 1900s, and this time though we are visiting all of the children of characters from the Infernal Devices series. All their kids are like teenagers now, and yeah, all those characters from Infernal Devices are like, and they're all like middle age now, except for Tessa, because she's a warlock and she's going to be hot and beautiful forever. Seriously, I think my favorite series from Cassandra Clare probably is the Infernal Devices. So I've been just highly anticipating this spin-off series, and it did not disappoint. I freaking loved it. I can't wait to get into this review with you guys. And yeah, in regards to this book, no spoilers, but yeah, since characters from like Infernal Devices or events or whatever kind of might be popping up. Yeah, I may or may not have some spoilers from Infernal Devices, so just kind of watch freely as you will. But yeah, this particular book, no spoilers. So, if you can't already tell, this is a very large book, you guys. And if you've read all of Cassandra Clare's books, she kind of typically has a format that she goes off of. And, that's kind of why her books are as large as they are, because she takes a very long time setting up the story. Because before she even heads into the actual plot, she spends a lot of time focusing on the characters, focusing on them as individuals and focusing on their relationships with one another. And yes, she does. She tends to have a very large cast of characters. So before this book even actually gets going, you do spend a lot of time with the characters and all the relationships, which, I mean, if you've read all of these books, that's either going to irritate you or not. For me personally, I kind of like that Cassandra Clare spends so much time on the characters before heading into the plot, because yeah, once the plot gets going, you don't have all of that time to spend with all the characters. You got to focus on the plot and moving the plot forward. So yeah, I think that's why she tends to spend so much time focusing on the characters and their relationships, like early on in the book. So yeah, once the plot does get going, you're invested, you know what I mean? You are invested in the characters and all the various different relationships. And then, yeah, when things start happening in the plot and characters start to be in peril or characters start to die or whatever, you're invested, you're committed, and you have those emotional attachments. So yeah, be warned, when you head into this series, if you're kind of getting irritated or frustrated that the plot just hasn't gone anywhere, give it time. The plot will appear. Because yeah, I kept reading this book and I kept turning page after page, chapter after chapter, and I was like, are we gonna get anywhere? You do finally get somewhere. And yeah, I think all of the time you spend with the world building and the characters and the relationships, it's well worth it once the plot does get going. And yeah, you're like, oh my god, I don't want anything terrible to happen to these characters. And like I mentioned, there is a humongous cast of characters, yeah guys. Cassandra Clare is starting to get up there with George R. R. Martin with the sheer amount of characters. Good lord, there's so many of them. And this book, it's going to require you to kind of think for a little bit, and get the family tree sorted in your head, because it took me a little while to process all of the characters and, you know, whose family they belong to, whose child is whose, who is friend with who is in love with who. It's a lot, you guys. The amount of characters in this book is a lot, and it does take a little while to kind of process just all of the lines, you know, all of the lines connecting who to who and whatnot. And I had to kind of think back on the infernal devices, obviously. I had to think back a lot on the infernal devices and recall a lot of those relationships and, you know, who ended up marrying who, and yeah, whose child belongs to who, more importantly, you know. So that kind of adds to the slowness of the initial beginning of this book, as well, as you're trying to figure out all these relationships and family relationships and whatnot. But yeah, once you do, I think it's pretty easy going after that. So on to the actual narrative and plot of this book, aside from just the characters. Yeah, the big thing that happens in this book is that all of our teenage characters, they're out like at a picnic or something, and they're attacked by demons in broad daylight, because the demons typically don't attack, you know, until like in the evening in the dark and whatnot. So this is like a very unusual circumstance that has happened. And yeah, this demon attack in broad daylight, it goes down, some characters end up dying, which is mostly just a lot of random Shadowhunter people that are in the background that you don't really get much info about. And yeah, this prompts the Shadowhunters to go into a sort of quarantine, because when these demons attack, just one little scratch, it's almost like a zombie plague, you know, if you want to think about it that way. It's very zombie-like, that the characters, they can get one little scratch or one little bite, and they're infected with something that is specifically targeting Shadowhunters. So yeah, like I said, this prompts the Shadowhunters to put London under some sort of quarantine to keep this thing contained, as they're trying to figure out, you know, how do we stop this from spreading, how do we fight all these demons, and more importantly, who is setting all these demons loose. So yeah, because of these demon attacks, it definitely raises the stakes within the Shadowhunter community. It really adds an urgency to the plot and to the narrative, and for these characters to really kick into action and do something. So yeah, let's talk about the characters really quickly, because I definitely want to highlight some of my favorites. I really loved James and Lucy Herondale, who are the children of Will and Tessa. James very much has Will's good looks and his swagger, but yeah, James definitely has his own inner demons that he's trying to control. And yeah, the thing with James and Lucy, because their mother is half warlock and half demon, that does some interesting things with James and Lucy, like some of their abilities that they have, which gets explored in this book. And yeah, Lucy is just all spunk and energy. I love her. And yeah, a new character in this is Cordelia Carstairs, and yeah, she's coming to London with this whole thing because her father has done something that gets revealed. He's done something that's kind of scandalous, and since it's the early 1900s, you know, any sort of scandal to your family name is a bad thing, and so she's trying to save the family name from ruin, and yeah, she's trying to figure out some sort of political alliance, you know, like a marriage that'll help out the family. I loved Cordelia. She's definitely kind of like typical Cassandra Clare heroine material, you know. And yeah, another thing about Cordelia is that she and her brother, they come from like a Persian background. They are non-white characters, which a lot of her heroines tend to be. So that was another interesting thing with Cordelia that I liked. And then James obviously has his little unit of friends. Matthew, who's his parabatai. I freaking adored Matthew, you guys. And then yeah, Thomas and Christopher. I loved all of James's friends. They were all just fantastic. And then you got Anna Lightwood. Anna Lightwood is kind of like the Magnus Bane of this book, I think, and probably this trilogy. Anna Lightwood she's just a very modern woman for the time, and yes, she dresses like a man, she has very short hair, she sleeps around with women. Yeah, she was great. I loved her. And another thing of note with this book is that it is loosely based off of Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. And yeah, if you've read Great Expectations, this book would be really fun to read, kind of picking out all of those things that Cassandra Clare is pulling from, what she is inspired by, because yeah, because I think James is supposed to be very much like Pip, and then James is in love with this girl named Grace Blackthorne, and I think she's supposed to kind of be the Estella of the book, and yeah, there's just little things like that you can definitely pick out, you know, these characters are reminiscent of these characters from Great Expectations. But yeah, not every element of Great Expectations, you know, is presented in this book. Like I said, it's very, very loosely inspired by Great Expectations, but you can definitely pick out those influences, which was really fun if you have read Great Expectations. So yeah, overall, you guys, I freaking loved this book. It did not disappoint. I think the writing was very well done. I think Cassandra Clare just keeps getting better and better with her writing, quite honestly, and the characters keep getting better and better. More and more interesting things kind of keep happening, and it did. I think it read very smoothly and easily. I mean, especially since I have read all of the Shadowhunter books, it definitely helps. You know, it definitely helps kind of being very familiar with the world and just other characters. It makes for just easier flow of reading. Yeah, the pacing was very good, I think. Like I said, it does have that initial slow beginning in a way, because you are really focused on the characters until the plot actually gets going. But yeah, that didn't really bother me, because I kind of appreciated that once the plot did start happening, because I was invested by then. But yeah, I definitely recommend this if you love all things Shadowhunters. And I mean, even if you've not read all of them, but you have read Infernal Devices and you really loved Infernal Devices, this is definitely for you, because I think it's a must. It's a must if you loved Infernal Devices. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed this. Can't wait for the next book in this series and where this is all going. So you guys, that is it for my review of Chain of Gold. In the comments below, have you guys read this book? Do you plan on reading it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? If you hated it, that's okay, because yeah, I just absolutely freaking love this. Right up my alley. My cup of tea. So you guys, that's it for this review. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.